The flop is amazing. Deuce 4-5 with 2 clubs, and now he goes all in.
Wow, man. Oh my God.
I'm all in. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Poker Profit Vlog. Saturday night, the place is packed. I put my name in advance in the 2-5 list through the Bravo app, which I advise you to use it. You can just call in advance and put your name on the list. So that's what I did. If you're coming to Vegas play poker and don't get to know Bellagio's poker room, you're making a big mistake. It's a great room, soft filled. This is just one of my favorite poker rooms in Vegas, and I really advise you to check it out when you're around here. If you enjoy what you're watching, make sure to hit the like and subscribe to the channel. I get called for my 2-5 seat, didn't wait for too long to find it. I buy in for 500 in the 2-5 game. I usually take 3 buy-ins with me, so if I have to rebuy, I just get my chips in my backpack and it's easier. Literally the first hand, I get pocket jacks on the under the gun. I raise to 20, low jack calls, then an elderly Japanese man with a bunch of chips in front of him 3-bets me to $90 from the button. I don't have a lot of information about him, but he looks like a player that would 3-bet me reasonably wider here, because when low jack calls the 20, it opens space for someone to do that in his left. Effective stack is $500. As pocket jacks is ahead of most of the range this guy probably has, in my opinion, I rather go with a 4-bet instead of just calling. But now the question is, how big should I 4-bet? I consider just shoving all in, but instead I rather go with a 3x size. So I 4-bet $270, low jack snap folds, and then button things for a while, and decides to fold as well. Next hand I get queen jack suited from the under the gun +1. Under the gun raises to 20. Here I rather 3-betting other than just calling, because there are many people in this table that could 3-bet me in position after I flat. So I decided to 3-bet to $60. Everybody else folds until the under the gun calls. We go heads up to a flop. The flop comes 10-8-6 with 2 clubs and 1 spade. Not the worst flop for me. I got a gut shot, 2 overs, and run a spade. He checks to me and I'm gonna bet here. I see bet $55, hoping to find a fold, which is not what happens. He calls. Turn is another 6. He checks to me again, and I decide to try once more. I bet 105 now, until he shoves all in, and I just fold. Buying for 100 more, losing $90 for now. Next hand I'm in the cutoff, with pocket queens, under the gun straddles to 10, 2 limpers, great spot. I raise to 50. Only under the gun +1 calls, who is the same guy who 3-betted me in the hand with pocket jacks. Flop is a great one, 8-3 deuce rainbow. I will rarely be losing this hand, unless he has set of 8s, 3s or deuces, but if he has, congrats. He checks to me, and now I'm gonna bet for value. I bet 40, 1/3 of the pot. He calls, turns a queen of diamonds. I don't think I quite needed that queen, but a set is always welcome. He checks to me again. I'm gonna bet again, cause I feel like he's leveling with me. So he could be hero calling me with a pair of 8s, or with a gut shot, or with whatever he thinks he should call me. So I bet 90 this time, and he quickly calls. Turns a 7, I'm still nuts. He checks to me again, and now I think it's a good time to polarize, and represent I have either a big hand or nothing. So I shove all in for 328, and he goes into the tank. Until he finally calls. I show the bad news, and he mucks. After that hand he left, and I changed to his seat to get a better table footage. Next hand I get pocket 4s on the under the gun +1, under the gun limps, and here with pocket 4s, I'm gonna choose to raise a bigger sizing than usual. I raise 30, and everybody folds. Next hand I'm in the cutoff, with pocket 9s, low jack raises to 15, hijack calls. I'm starting to see this woman is really loose, just calling a lot of hands pre-flop. I raise to $60 in position. Low jack and hijack call, so 3 players see the flop.
Not that much.
The flop is not the worst. Jack 8-7 with 2 clubs. They both check to me, and I could decide to bet here, but I feel like both of them have relevant chance to decide to check raise me. So instead, I decide to check behind. Turn is a bad one, a queen of spades. Unfortunately, that's what's gonna happen sometimes when I decide to check back here. The turn might not be the best card. Now they check to me again, and I decide to check back and hopefully get to showdown in the river. River is a 6, pretty good river. And then hijack bets 130. The woman in my right folds, and now the decision is on me. I gotta call 130 for a pot that has 317. I need to be right around 28% of the times, so this call is profitable, which I'm not sure it is. I blocked 9-10, but I don't think he is that polarized in his bet. When we all check a bunch of times, he could be betting for value with a hand like King Queen, King Jack, Queen Jack, Ace Jack, etc. He looked like a good player, so I decided to give him credit and fold. Next hand I get Ace 3 suited from the hijack. I raise to 20, only playing my left calls in the cutoff. So we go heads up to a flop that I missed completely. 8-9-9 with 2 clubs. I'm gonna try to get this pot at least one time. So I see bet 2/3 of the pot, $30. He calls, turns a 5 of hearts, opening up 2 flush draws in the board. And I'm just gonna slow down here. I check. He checks behind. River is a 5 of clubs. It completes the flush draw in the flop and also puts 2 pairs in the board, which makes ace high become a kind of decent hand. I check to him, and then he bets 130. He's overbetting this pot, and in a board like that, he's polarizing his hand, because it wouldn't make sense for him to do that with a flush or with an 8. So here he is pretty much representing a 9 or a 5. And he could have 9s in his hand, especially. But this bet is really weird. If he doesn't polarize, I would just insta-fold. But when he polarizes, my ace high becomes a pretty good bluff catcher. But even though I could be winning here a reasonably amount of times, I decided to let that hand go. Would you guys call here? I feel like this one would be a good spot for a hero call. But I didn't, and we will never know what he had. Next hand I get pocket 9s again. Women in my right, limps as usual. I raise 25 in position. Button calls, and then the woman re-raises to $50. Okay, great spot for me. I gotta call 25 in position for a pot that has 107, plus the fact that the button will probably call as well. So I gotta call 25 for a pot that has 132. I'm gonna hit my set 1 every 8 times, so I'm sure this call is profitable. And pocket 9s can be enough already as well. So I call, button calls as well. 3 players see the flop. The flop comes queen 3-4 rainbow. Not what we wanted to see. She bets 100. And now I'm just gonna fold. I'm not gonna force a hero call against her. They will most likely have better spots for me to do that. Button folds as well. Next hand I'm in the cutoff with pocket 3s. Low jack raises to 15. Hijack calls. Sometimes I'm gonna 3-bet here with pocket 3s, but this time against those particular players, I decided to go with a more passive line and just call, hoping to set mine in the flop. Small blind calls as well, but then big blind re-raises to 100. He seems like a decent player, so I think his squeezing range will be ace jack suited plus pocket pairs better than mine. Everybody folds to me, and now I feel I'm getting a pretty good price to call in position against him. Sometimes he will have pocket pairs better than mine, but with those pairs he is mostly gonna slow down in the flop turns and river if he doesn't hit his sets. And I'm flipping ace king, ace queen, ace jack that he has many in his range, especially ace queen, 8 ace king. So after thinking for a while, I decide to call and see a flop. Small blind folds. The flop is pretty good, 2, 7, 8, all diamonds. If he bets, I'm gonna call here. But without thinking a lot, he decides to check, which is weird. I don't think he is checking to give up on this hand. So if I bet here and he check raises me, I'm gonna have to fold with pocket 3s. That's just not a good enough hand for me to call a check raise. So I decide to check back. The turn pairs the board, another 7, which is a great turn. He checks to me again, and now my reasoning is similar to the one I have in the flop. I would be in a really tough spot if I bet and he raises me. So I decided to check again and hopefully not see a card we don't want in the river. River is not the worst, but not the best as well. A jack of spades. I'm still beating hands like ace king, ace queen that he has many in his range, especially playing like that. But he could have ace jack suited as well. Now he thinks for a long time. And decides to bet 170. By the way the hand played out, he is either representing an ace jack or a flush that he's low played flop turn and then bet big in the river. If this river was an ace, a king or a queen, I would lean towards folding more than calling. But with a jack, this is just not such a bad card for me to call here. I don't think he would squeeze pre-flop so often with ace jack offsuit. So I think most of the ace jacks I'm losing here are gonna be the ace jack suited in diamonds, clubs and hearts. And I'm winning many combinations of ace queen, ace king, offsuit and suited. I gotta call 170 for a pot that has 417. I need to be right in this call around 20 to 25% of the time, so this call is profitable. So after considering my options, I decide to call and see what he's got. And he shows ace jack with the ace of diamonds. He would most likely check raise me in the flop and turn, and he takes the pot. 2 hours and 25 minutes of game, losing $90. Next hand I'm in the hijack with queen jack offsuit, low jack limps as usual. I raised 25 in position. This woman was just the perfect person to have in my right. Lose passive pre-flop with a lot of chips and not afraid to raise and re-raise post-flop. We go heads up to the flop. The flop is ace jack 3 with 2 hearts. She checks to me and here I decide to control the pot and check back. Most likely I'm winning here. Turn is a jack, great card. She checks to me and now I'm gonna bet. I bet $40 and she just folds. Hold on cause we will have a bunch of hands against this woman. Next hand I get 6-5 on the big blind. Hijack raises 15. This woman calls again and they were both making a game of betting if a king or a 7 came in the flop and he was the king and she was the 7 and they were playing like 70% of the hands pre-flop. I mean it, like I'm not exaggerating. So here I think is a good time to exploit their tendencies with a 3-bet. I 3-bet to $70. They both fold and I take the pot. Next hand I'm in the hijack with jack 8 suited. Under the gun straddle. Woman in my right calls. I decide to raise here. I raise to 45. I wanted to play this hand and I didn't want just to call and open space for people in my left to squeeze. So I raise myself to $45. Straddler and under the gun +1 calls. So 3 players see the flop. The flop is unbelievably good. 9-10-7 rainbow. I just smashed that flop. And Straddler decides to lead to $30. She calls in my right. And here, although it wouldn't be bad to slow play, especially with a rainbow board, I just know they are gonna call me too often because of how loose they play and how aggressive is my image in this table. So I decide to raise. I raise to $80. They both call. Turn is an ace. I'm still nuts, but this card favors way more my range than theirs, which is bad in this case, because I want to extract maximum value. Straddler checks, and then under the gun +1 bets $100. Her effective stack is 400 total, and I want those chips. Instead of raising again, I think flatting is a better option, especially because I'm in position. I call, Straddler folds, we go heads up to the river. The river is a great one, a blank, 4 of clubs. She checks to me, and now I'm just gonna take my time and go all in. I shove all in for $300. She folds, and we scoop a big pot. That night I was also watching high stakes poker at Hustler Casino Live, and it was a pretty good show to watch while I was playing. Next hand I get ace 10 offsuit from the low jack. She limps again. I raise 25 again. Only she calls, so we go heads up to the flop. I make top pair, most likely I'm winning. Board is rainbow. When she checks to me, I decide to check back, give her a shot to hit something. Turns a 4 of hearts. She checks again. Now I'm gonna raise. I bet $45. She thinks for a while. But in the end, she decides to fold. I'm really targeting her. She's giving me a lot of good spots to exploit. And that's what I'm doing. Next hand, I'm in the big blind with King Queen offsuit. Cutoff raises 15. Button calls. She calls as well. Great spot for me to squeeze here. That's what I do. I 3-bet to $85. Everybody folds and we take it down. My image in this table is of a pretty aggressive guy. So great spot for me to get Ace King suited from the button. Low Jack raises 15. Woman in my right calls as usual. I'm gonna definitely 3-bet. I 3-bet $55. Small blind thinks about calling or raising this hand. Again, my image is already of a really aggressive guy. But in the end, he decides to fold. Low Jack and cutoff call. So 3 players see the flop. The flop is not the best. 8-8 deuce with 2 diamonds. Low Jack checks. And then cutoff goes all in for $242. And what goes through my mind is, what is she repping here going all in of $242 in a 8-8 deuce with 2 diamonds board? Would she do that with an 8? I don't think so. It wouldn't make sense. With my image, she would just check and I would bet most of these flops. And that's what I think she would do with an 8. If she has a pair, also doesn't make any sense again, because she's just transforming her hand into a bluff. And she is crazy enough to do that with such a hand. But I still think most of the times what she will have here is a flush draw. And she just wants to take us out of the hand. So here I think I might be in the spot where I can get her, finally. Because that's what I'm waiting through the whole night. I gotta call $242 for a 414 pot. My average equity, so this call is profitable, has to be around 36%. Against a flush draw, I'll have 45% of chance of winning. And against a pocket pair, I would have around 24 to 25% of chance of winning. But I don't think she has a pocket pair that often. So after considering my options, I decide to go for it. I call. Low Jack folds. We don't want to see a diamond. Turns a queen. River is a 5.
And less diamond. Just 5.
Oh my god.
Are you serious?
I know I will lose that hand 55% of the time, so that happens pretty often. And no reason to be whining about it. And let's go to the next hand. Winning $102 in around 3 hours of game. Next hand I get King Jack offsuit from the hijack. Low Jack raises 15. I call. Small blind calls as well. 3 players see the flop. The flop comes King 7-6 rainbow. They both check to me. I bet 25, half pot. They both call. Turns a 4. And after they both call and check to me, I feel like this is a good time to control the pot. I have top pair, but I'm still losing for many 2-pair hands. Also some strays that got there in the turn. So I check back. River is a 4, which is a good card. Now I'm also beating hands like 6-7 who had 2-pair and now got counterfeited. Small blind bets 45. She folds and now easy call for me. That's what I do, and he shows King 7, making top pair in the flop and extracting way less than he could if he decides to check raise flop, or if I decide to bet in the turn and he raises me. So I'm happy with the result of this hand, because I don't think he extracted maximum value. Next hand I get King 9 suited, cutoff raises 15, small blind calls, and I decide to just call from the button. My image is already too aggressive for me to squeeze with this hand. The flop is amazing, 9-6 deuce with 2 hearts. She leads out $30, and here, against any normal person, I would just flat and play in position with her as the aggressor. But I know most of the times King 9 will already be good enough, and I also know that she hates folding. So here, I'm just gonna decide to raise, and in case she forbets me, I'm just gonna go for it with this hand. I raise 75, she snap calls, which I was already figuring out she would do that. I'm pretty confident I'm ahead. Now I'm almost sure about that. A 8 of hearts comes in the turn. She checks to me, the effective stack is 350, and now I just feel she will rarely have an ace of hearts. So I decide to check back and give her space to bluff the river. River is a queen of diamonds. I'm still semi-nuts. She checks again, and now I'm gonna bet. The question is how much. I bet 125, trying to extract value from one pair hands or two pair hands she has in her range. But she folds, and we take it down. Next hand I get 6-7 suited from the big blind. Cutoff raises 15. Everybody folds to me, and I just call. We go heads up to the flop. The flop is amazing. 3-4-5 with 2 hearts. I check. He bets 15. And now with my image, there's no way I'm not gonna check raise here. If he has hands like ace high, he has a gut shot and he might think his 2 overs are good enough. So I know he's gonna call pretty often my check raise. I raise to 55. He calls. Turns an 8 of diamonds, which is a good one in my opinion. Now there are 2 flush draws in the board and he might think I have a flush draw. But here, he could also have a flush draw. So I don't wanna raise a sizing that he could call profitably with the flush draw in position against me. So I decide to bet big. I bet 115 and he quickly folds. Next hand I have queen jack suited from the button. Middle position raises to 15. Hijack and cutoff call. With my image at the table, I decided just to flat here, but usually I'm gonna 3-bet in this spot. Big blind re-raises to $90. That's what good players usually gonna do when so many people decide to flat pre-flop. Everybody folds to me, and with this hand, there is no way I'm gonna fold from the button. I gotta call 75 for a pot that has 152, and I'm playing in position with a great hand that develops pretty well post-flop, so I call. I miss the flop. That's the chronic issue about not being the aggressor pre-flop, cause even with a great suited connector hand, I'm usually gonna miss the board, the aggressor is gonna bet, and I'm gonna fold, and that's what happened in this case. Playing for almost 4 hours, losing $36. This hand I get pocket 7s, under the gun raises to 15, middle position calls. I decide just to flat again in position. Hijack calls, then the big blind re-raises to $85. She calls in my right, and here, pretty easy call. I'm in position with pocket 7s, needing to call $70 for a pot that has 217. The flop comes 9-8 deuce rainbow. He checks. They both check to me, and here I feel like I might be winning this hand. He has many ace king, ace queen in his range that he could miss this board and decide to stop betting. I decide to bet 1/3 of the pot to protect my equity. I bet $95. He folds, which is a great news, but then woman in my right decides to call, which is not a good news at all. There's a chance I might still be winning here, but I'm not that confident anymore. To make it worse, river is an ace, and then she decides to go all in for 195. Really tough spot for me. I will be losing most of the times this hand, but I'm still getting a great price. But after considering everything, I decide to fold and go to the next hand. I buy in for 100 more, losing $212 for now. This hand I get ace jack offsuit from the button. Hijack raises 15. By a miracle, she decides to fold. I 3-bet to $45. Big blind calls. I believe big blind will mostly have good hands, so I got a red flag here with ace jack offsuit. Low jack calls as well, so 3 players see the flop. $400 effective. The flop comes queen 10-9 rainbow. I have open-ended and a king would make me have a better straight. They both check to me and I decide to check back and realize my equity in the turn. Turn is an ace. Now I got top pair. They check to me again and now I think it's a good time to check back. Open space for them to bluff and also realize my equity for a king or for an 8. River is a 3, complete blank. Now the big blind bets 125. Low jack folds, and by the way I played this hand, I'm gonna call and hopefully bluff catch. That's what I do. I call, he shows 7s, and we take the hand. Losing $15 now, and I get this king 10 suited from the under the gun. I raise to 20. The best possible scenario happens. Only the big blind calls, which is the same woman from previous hands. Flop is a great one, 3-5-6 with 2 diamonds. I got 2 overs and a flush draw. She leads out 35. Easy call for me here. Turns a 3 of hearts. Not a great card. She bets 35, which is a pretty small bet. There is a small chance she's already have a full house, but full houses are rare in this spot. So most likely I'm at least playing for the flush. So I'm gonna call again. I miss the river. She bets and I just fold. When I said yes you can, I didn't see my cards yet, okay? I have Queen 10 suited in this spot.
What? You didn't look?
Player in the other side of the table asked if he could straddle, and I said yes you can. And then I raised his hand, so I just wanted to make it clear that I wasn't like taking advantage of it.
I follow you on your
For real, man? Yeah, nice, man. What's your name?
Jack, Poker Boy.
Yeah, that's really.
For
That's
you.
the old album. That's my new channel right
Oh,
there.
nice. Nice, man. Good luck to you, man.
Thanks, brother.
Next and last hand of this episode, I get Ace Jack suited from the under the gun +1. Under the gun straddles 10. I'm gonna raise here. I raise to $30. Then the big blind re-raises to $75. I feel he is pretty strong in this hand. That was his first 3-bet, with a pretty small sizing. Woman in the big blind calls. So that's a pretty clear call for me now. I gotta call 45 for a pot that has 187 in position with Ace Jack suited. So I call. The flop is amazing. Deuce 4-5 with 2 clubs. I have a gut shot, 2 overs, and a nut flush draw. And now he goes all in for something like $600.
Oh my god, bro. What a spot you put me, man.
I gotta call 625 for a pot that has 855. My average equity has to be around 42%, so this call is profitable. And I will have way more than that against hands like kings and queens that he has in his range. If he has aces, I'm gonna be around 36% favorite, which is not gonna be a profitable call, but I block 1 ace. So there is less combinations of aces in his hands than combinations of kings and queens. So pretty close spot. Let me know what do you guys do here. I'm really considering my options, but I think that's a pretty clear call with my hand. Most of the times I'm gonna be playing for the gut shot, for the flush, and for the ace. Sometimes only for the flush draw. I don't think he will have 5s, 4s or deuces here, pretty much never, because he wouldn't play like this pre-flop. So after considering my options, I just realized calling is the most profitable decision in the long run. I have minimum 35%. Yeah, it's so close, man. So fucking close. Oh shit.
He's gonna do it.
Yeah,
I call.
because you have to.
Where are we at?
He shows aces, which is not what we wanted to see. We're playing only for the flush draw and for the 3 to chop. Turn is a 7, river is a jack, which is not good enough, and we lose this hand. Nice hand. 5 hours and 21 minutes of game. Lost $700 in this session. Well guys, obviously end of session here. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Honestly, I'm happy with how I played. I think I did my job, which is showing up, playing for 5 hours and 20 minutes, playing good. How do you think that I played? Like, if you have any comments or opinions, let me know. I want to hear from you. What do you think about how I played? What do you think about the hand with ace jacks suited with that flop? Like, he just showed the worst showdown I could possibly find, because I don't think he would play like that with 5s, 4s or deuces. So yeah, if he had kings, I think that call is totally profitable. I'm gonna check it out. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and see you next time. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe to the channel. The mission of this channel is helping you become a better poker player. I hope I'm achieving that goal, and see you next time.